at the Public Facilities, Arts, and Culture meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 7th, 2023, and I do detect a quorum. We have a few resolutions on our bill tonight. RS 2023-1986, Roten and Hurt approves an application for a major cultural institution grant from the Tennessee Arts Commission to the Metro Arts Commission to provide general operating support. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any questions, comments? Anyone from the Arts Commission want to make any comments about the application?
No, I just appreciate your support.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, thank you very much.
6 in favor, none against.
6. Thank you. So our second resolution is Resolution 2023-1995, Roden, Hurt, Welch, and Swan. Approves the Child and Adult Care Food Program grant application and accepting a CACFP grant from the Tennessee Department of Human Services to the Metro Parks and Recreation Department to provide nutritious meals and snacks for children attending after-school programs at 13 community centers. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. Anybody from Parks want to speak? We know this is a continuous grant that this program receives the funding for, and it's basically a no-brainer. So all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. None opposed. We move on to number 3, RS 2023-1996. Roden and Hurt approves a grant from the Tennessee Titans to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to launch a Titans NFL Flag League in the spring of 2023 with funding to be used for registration fees and scholarships. Is there a motion?
Motion.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any question, comments?
Question.
Yes.
Is this contingent on approving of a new stadium, or is this just,
Really?
yes?
Oh, my.
To my understanding, it is not. This is something that they were planning on doing regardless of this stadium deal. Anybody in Parks want to further comment on that?
No, it's just a donation they want to grant the community centers.
And this is probably a dumb question, but what is a flag league? What do they
Flag
do?
football.
Flag football, you know.
Oh, okay.
Where they run around?
They're training them to be pro bowlers.
I
Yes.
got
You could play.
I could play. I could play.
You and Larry can join the league and find out.
That's right, Larry.
Not.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, thank you very much. BL 20, well, bill's on second reading now. BL 2022-1630, Swope, Syracuse, Hall, and Rutherford. Amends Title II of the Metro Code to create the Nashville Film and Television Advisory Board. We have a proposed amendment, but before, can we get a motion?
Motion on the bill.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Swope, do you want to give us a brief summary of the amendment?
Yeah, the amendment does absolutely nothing except add the Arts Commission into the last recital that basically says the advisory board can recommend that an office of film and television be located in either the convention, the Chamber of Commerce, Convention and Tourism, Mayor's Office, and I've added Metro Arts Commission. So all it does is add Metro Arts Commission to that one line.
Okay.
And I would ask your approval on the amendment.
Any, yes,
Does the Arts Commission have any opinion about in favor or against?
The commission, in its last meeting, voted to be considered as a body, as to be considered as an option.
Okay.
Right now, we're allowing this body to make that decision, yeah.
Well, I'm glad. I thought it should be in the Arts Commission. Anyway, thought it would be just an extension or expansion of the Arts Commission, so I'm glad to see the amendment. So, all in favor? None opposed. So now we're on the bill. We've approved the amendment. Now we're on for the bill itself.
Councilmember Henderson.
Oh, that's right, thank you. Now we're on the bill itself. May I get a motion?
Second?
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any comments?
What budget and finance do? Does the day I went in and approved it, or you know?
Yes, Budget and Finance did go ahead and approve it.
I
But
wanted to
we
make
know,
sure that they hadn't deferred at one meeting.
no, they did not on this one, but they did on 1631.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thanks.
I guess my question, I mean, so we've seconded the motion for approval, so just for purposes of discussion,
Right.
though, do you not, Councilman Swope, think that kind of in a spirit of fairness with this ongoing lengthy discussion, that your bill also should be deferred?
I may do
So-
that on the floor tonight, but I don't want to do that in committee.
Don't you think that would be helpful to the body to express that intent here, and that that's our understanding and intent as a committee? So I would move a one-meeting deferral.
Is there a second?
Well, 1631 has a 2-meeting deferral on it right now.
Okay.
It would not be binding on the floor, a one-meeting deferral would be.
Is there a second?
Do these need to run side by side, or what?
Well, I personally, I don't know if I can actually,
You may, Chair.
I can, but then I will second. Because I do think that it's fair for them to run together. And I do believe that we should,
But it'd have to go 2 meetings if you got the other one deferred for 2 meetings, right?
The committee's recommendation of a 2-meeting deferral wouldn't be binding on the floor. What could happen is that you'd have a recommendation that the 2-meeting deferral on 1631 be reduced to a 1-meeting, so that they do track. But the whole point is that both of them should track together, be it a
That's what
1-meeting or a
okay,
2-meeting.
that's fine. However y'all want to do it.
I was saying, just
Two or
real
one.
quick clarification, a one-meeting deferral would not be binding, but only because both of these have been deferred before.
For 2 meetings. They were both deferred 2 meetings, that was not binding. For
Correct.
the previous meeting.
But a one-meeting deferral now would not be binding either in this committee.
Okay, in
I didn't
that
think
So
so.
you
case,
can, it will not be an automatic deferral on the floor if you defer one meeting.
okay, I guess
Only the first
In that-
deferral of a
it
committee.
would not be.
then
It's
I would
not binding
move.
to defer one meeting in this committee.
I guess then, Chair, if I may, because the intent is, in the spirit of fairness, to have these tracked together to maintain this conversation, and I know work has been done by Council Lady Allen and Ms. Porterfield to get us to a place of compromise, so if I could amend my motion to be a 2-meeting deferral. Just for clarity for the body, right, because the 1, the 2, and this is binding and whatever, if Council Lady Stiles' work in combination with Council Lady Allen and Council Lady Porterfield with their intended, if that is deferred 2 meetings, then I would hope that we, as a committee, in a spirit of fairness, keeping those tracking together, would recommend to the larger body that we do the same with Councilman Swope's bill.
I would agree. I think that yesterday that 1631 actually had much more discussion than 1630. So, and I think that's the reason why it ended up being deferred.
I think it was a lengthy meeting as well, and it looked like, I tried to watch a little bit of it, but that folks were leaving and so forth. So I then would like to amend my motion to be a 2-meeting deferral, please.
Before we go back, let me see what Councilmember Sirikos had to say.
I'll just add that at the Budget and Finance meeting, I believe the question came from Councilmember Gamble to Ms. Darby, but perhaps about would 2 meetings be enough for you all to get some fiscal note information? And I think she basically said yes. However, today we have an email in our inboxes with some of that information. So just to put it as part of this conversation. So I'm fine if this committee wants to recommend 2 meetings, but it may be, when we discuss it on the floor, that it may only need to be 1. So we'll see. I just wanted to add that for context of what was discussed at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting.
I think because this has been a complicated conversation, I mean, what I kind of hear from the body is they're looking for some direction. So again, in a spirit of fairness, I just think the recommendation, what I would hope out of this committee is the 2 meetings. That then winds it up with the work that Council Lady Allen is doing to reach the compromise with potentially by substituting the other bill. And so, yeah, I would encourage a 2-meeting deferral, respecting the fact that it might not take 2 meetings, but then they would both be moving at the same.
And I appreciate that with all due respect, and I appreciate the work that Council Lady Allen did on the substitute, but I really did not see it being any better. I didn't see how it actually changed what was already on either one of those bills. So I'm not sure if it really would make a difference with what she came up with. I was hopeful that we were going to be able to go back and have a meeting with both sponsors and come away with something for us to have one great bill to move forward that's going to be favorable for everyone and mutually beneficial for both. And we were unable to do that. So I don't like the idea of us having a political war going on, and because a lot of times we really lose the meat and the essence of what we're trying to do, and it's the constituents that lose out. And we need to focus more on making sure that we put good legislation forth that's going to be in the best interest of those that we serve.
I appreciate that, Chair. I also feel like when we have had, as a body, whether it was kind of STRs or anything that was, that there were 2 approaches, right? And we just could not get to, in the end, the fact that I think they were tracking together was helpful to the body because it just, I just think, to your point, it has been a little rocky and difficult, but I just think if they stay together, that's better to the points that you're making.
And I would agree with that.
I did have a question for the administration. I guess what has been a little bit confusing to me through this is if there are kind of strategic goals for a combined commission that touches on all of these things, all of these aspects of art, production, film, TV, music, all those things. And I mean, that's what's in my inbox, the community saying, could we get it all under one umbrella? And then what I also have heard, and I think this council often feels is, and especially with the volatility colleagues that we've had over the last few years, that, when something only is in the mayor's office, you can't know when that next mayor comes in if that's a priority of hers, or, and so, having it under the executive, fine, or Metro Arts, but it's got to be kind of established. And so, does this administration have a position on the difference between these approaches?
Sure. So, 2 things that should be said at the outset. The sponsors of the competing bills, I have learned enormously about their background, how deeply ingrained they are in the entertainment industry, and they're far more knowledgeable about this than I will ever be. It is now painful how close they are. I mean, literally, if you hold these 2 texts up to the light, the differences are, I really have to underscore how minuscule the differences are, and would really hope that you could come together on a singular version. With respect to where there were differences, we generally, in helping council members consider the substitute, aired on where we understood the stakeholders meeting that was organized, professionally convened several months ago, where they generally came out. And much like your inbox, the not overwhelming, but majority preferred that it be under one roof in the mayor's office, but to your point, to the extent that changing administrations can thwart how this entity moves forward, for the first time, make sure that the executive director is appointed by the members and only by the members and answerable to the members, and therefore persist beyond administrations. That was the approach taken by the substitute and Councilmember Delicia. I know we're not on that, and that's a substitute to 1631, but she's here to discuss.
So for me, when you start talking about an executive director and trying to maintain such an office, it's gonna take so much more than just the executive director for it to be able to sustain itself. And without having that plan in place or at least a vision and forecast of what it's going to cost, I think we would be, it would be ill-advised for us to move forward with something like that without having all of that information.
So I would ask you, completely understood, and we went to the sponsors of the competing bills. There was just not, at least at that moment, there was not interest in being under the Arts Commission. And rather than adding one more item that divided them, we refrained from it and went again with what the stakeholders committee meeting expressed in terms of place this under the mayor's office. There is a budget allocation of $100,000 that is unspent, except for $3,000 of it that was spent for convening the stakeholders meeting. That could be rolled into at least the seed money for the executive director and eventually staff that this council can take up in its upcoming budget.
So I think that we've had enough discussion. I will entertain your motion again, Councilmember Henderson.
2-meeting deferral.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. BL 2022-1631, Styles West Toombs Sepulveda, amends Title II of the Metro Code to create the Nashville Entertainment Creation Commission. There is a proposed substitute. Can I get a motion on
So
that?
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Councilman Porterfield, you want to give us a summary of what your proposed substitute does?
Thank you so very much, Chair. Thank you, I appreciate it. And thank you all for the opportunity to come before you all. Mr. Jameson has some details about the substitute. If you don't mind kicking us off, Mr. Jameson, and then if you could defer back to me.
Absolutely. Again, I guess just to emphasize the similarities between the two and how they diverge when they do. Both bills, the recital clauses are verbatim identical. The name of the body does differ between the two bills, and the substitute takes the third name. The definition of the industry between both bills adopt a definition of what the entertainment industry is, referring to commercial activity that involves the production and sale of entertainment. Both ordinances address film, television, digital streaming content, virtual reality.
Sorry about that.
Quite all right. After I talked to them as well. Councilmember Swope's bill obviously emphasizes film and television roles. Councilmember Stiles' bill obviously emphasizes music-oriented roles. The substitute includes all of them and includes all of the occupations that were referenced by both bills. The membership size, Councilmember Swope's bill recommended a 9-member body. Councilmember Stiles' bill recommended 19. The stakeholders met and recommended anywhere from 15 to 20. So we brought it to the lowest end of the scale, 15, to be as close to what the stakeholders wanted, still representing a compromise. Both ordinances provide for appointments by and from identical entities, the mayor, the council, and then council making nominations from the industry at large in both bills, and also the same 3 unions, the Screen Actors Guild, the Theatrical Stage Employees, and the American Federation of Museum. Both ordinances require nominees to have a minimum of 5 years professional experience, to show substantial business relationships in the industry, and to serve without compensation. Both ordinances describe the purpose of the body very, very similarly. The verbiage is slightly different, but all of them at their core want to develop and sustain business relationships, promote economic development, increase diversity and gender and racial equity, and build relations with the Tennessee Entertainment Commission. The initial goals were listed in Councilmember Stiles. They were not listed in Councilmember Swope's. We eliminated the initial goals, but substituted in there 7 primary goals that would govern the body going forward. The powers and duties, virtually identical in terms of the ability to elect a chair and other officers, promulgate bylaws and maintain regulations, and create select advisory committees. Councilmember Stiles named 7 specific subcommittees. The substitute narrows this to 4 and makes film and television production the very first named subcommittee so that it does have an entity directed towards its needs. Staffing is nearly identical. Both ordinances provide the body be managed by an executive director who is appointed by the body, not by the mayor's office. It is simply housed under and receives infrastructure from the mayor's office. And both ordinances provide the executive director and staff responsibilities quite similarly. And the ordinance simply, the substitute simply combines them.
Thank you. Before you speak, Councilmember Porterfield, Councilmember Stiles wanted to add something. Is that okay?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted, one, to say that this is a friendly substitute, and also that my original bill is inclusive of all creative industries. It does not heavily rely on music or film. It is for everyone, so that all tides rise together. And that is what we've heard from constituents, is that they want one commission that addresses everyone. And there's one other thing, but I'm blanking, so I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Porterfield?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Jameson, for that very detailed outlining of this substitute. And I just wanted to take a step back and say that what we know is that Councilor Stiles worked so hard on this, and Councilmember Syracuse and Councilmember Swope worked so hard on this, and they both have a very real vested interest in this legislation. And I wanted to make sure, and Councilor Allen wanted to make sure that we found some middle ground between the two pieces of legislation, and that also we were doing what we believe would be in the best interest of Nashvillians and in the best interest of the creative community. So this legislation, again, it's been a lot of work on this to bring these two as closely as possible, and we just ask that you all would please support this legislation, which is a true compromise. I don't think that either side is 100% happy, and that happens with compromise. Like, we know that neither side may be 100% happy with this, but it did go with what people in the community wanted when there was a discrepancy between the two. So, and I just want to take a moment to thank Councilwoman Stiles, Councilmember Syracuse, and Councilman Swope, as well as Councilor Allen, because she was very vested in this and making sure that there was some middle ground. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Syracuse?
We're deferring those 2 meetings. I'll save it for 2 weeks from now. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So, did you want to say something? Are there any more questions, comments? All minds and hearts are clear.
Well, this is on the sub.
This is just on the substitute.
Yeah, this is just on the substitute. Yes. So, we ready to take the vote?
Yes.
All in favor of the substitute? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, I'm no.
So 5 in favor, 2 against the substitute.
And I motion for a 2-meeting deferral on the bill as substitute.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The last bill we have is Bill 2023-1684, authorizes Metro Department of Parks and Recreation to swap 3140 Parthenon Avenue and a portion of 3138 Parthenon Avenue for 3136 Parthenon Avenue to allow for a future expansion of the Centennial Dog Park. There is a proposed amendment, but Councilmember Taylor isn't here.
I'll move the amendment.
Second. He's moving the amendment.
I was just saying I'd move the amendment.
Okay, I'm sorry. And it's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I was just gonna ask Hannah if she can explain what the amendment was.
The amendment, it adds some clarifying language, about what the owner has agreed to do to the property to prepare it before it's transferred to Metro. And then it also adds that the owner is going to, I think it's, I'm trying to think of the word, like grade the lot, remove, some paving, from the property before it's transferred to Metro.
Can we see what Mr.
I've got,
Nate has?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I've got some diagrams that may be helpful in illustrating what would happen with visuals. But it is as you explained essentially.
Mr. Nate, Parthenon Avenue in relation to Centennial Park, like what is the cross street that we're looking at?
The cross street is Omen Street, so it is part of Centennial Park. It's on the far west side, approximately across the street of the Metro headquarters buildings.
Right, that was my question. This is the park's headquarters building under this
That's
box
correct.
here?
Yep.
Okay.
And is this the parking lot to the dog park? It's been a while since I've been out
Yes.
there.
Mhm.
Where is the parking lot? Okay.
So the dog park is up here.
Okay, so basically you're just swapping for adjacency so that you can,
That's right. To concentrate the private development and to have more contiguous parking.
remove asphalt, regrade, et cetera. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Move the bill as amended.
Okay. Is there a second?
I don't think I have the amendment.
We did add the amendment.
Okay.
Yes,
Can I speak on the bill as amended?
sure.
Thank you. I keep making this statement, I just want to make it again. I understand exactly why we're doing this, because we can't afford to buy that whole strip. But if you look at the Centennial Park Master Plan, it includes ultimately getting all of those properties there to the road that goes in front of the park headquarters. And to quote my colleague over there, we do these master plans and we work so hard on what our grand vision is, and then we don't have the funding to enable us to do them, which I find very frustrating. So I support doing this, but I would just say, if we are looking at places to put capital money, I would love to see us give parks more tools to work with so that they can rescue these pieces of property rather than having to just give up
Give it away.
and do, what is the best thing available to us. But if we'd had the funding and we could have bought those lots, then we would have been able to fully implement the Centennial Park Master Plan that went all the way to the corner, which makes a little bit more sense than having these 3 little multifamily things that are now gonna stick into the middle of the dog park. So this is just a plea for fundings for parks so that we can implement other master plans that.
And I would
Council Lady
agree.
Allen, I would say also, I don't think it's just about funding. I have some concerns about kind of strategic planning for capital expenditure with the funds that Parks has. And so, I think the Plan to Play master plan was very big picture, right? Like we need 35 more ball fields, and that there are particular parks that have their own master plans, and they may be fortunate to have an associated friends group, and so they're kind of working their plans. But I do feel like this kind of stuff gets orphaned somewhat in the whole big scheme of things. And so, yeah, I hear you. Yes, objectively on paper, does this make sense? But to your point, if the intent of the plan was to pull it all the way down to the historical park building, and now in an effort to get the contiguous property, we now are gonna drop, some tall skinnies right here, then we're not really, I will defer to Mr. Nagel, what is the best choice with the resources at present, but, do you have any thoughts to Council Lady Allen's point about, we are kind of, in doing this, which makes sense, we are closing a door somewhat, right? So somebody's gonna put new construction here, and what will that mean for the master plan of Centennial Park?
Well, I'm grateful to both of you guys for advocating for additional funding for parks. In this case, in particular, this is the best available option to us right now. In addition to not having the funding, over the course of, starting probably more than 5 years ago, we repeatedly attempted through Metro Property Services to acquire these properties or to develop a relationship with the property owners, and neither of the property owners was ever interested in selling to us.
You do anything about that?
Well, and to Councilmember Allen's point, it's not just parks where we've got to figure this out. There's other metro departments where libraries is another prime example. They have a strategic master plan, but a lot of it can't move forward because they don't have the money to buy the lots. And then we let lots just get away from us. So I say we definitely need to put the funding in parks and in libraries to develop some kind of fund that can be used when these properties come available. We can go ahead and grab them instead of having to go through the CIB, CSP process, which takes forever, and we end up losing opportunities that way.
And I would agree wholeheartedly, and we've got more money, I guess, in the last couple of years than we've ever had, and I think that we could have used some of those funds in order to do things like this, but our priorities were not in that place. So I think we need to go back and take a look and stand up for those things beforehand as opposed to after, because here we are. But now, we've had good discussion, and thank you
Ms.
both
Range, for all the good
very
work
much.
you do. I
And
didn't-
yes,
that
thank
was
you,
not
Mr. Nate.
intended as a-
We appreciate it. So can we get a vote on the amendment, the bill as amended? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
So I apologize, was that just on the amendment, Chair, or?
That was the bill as
That was as amended, okay,
As
thank you, I'm
amended,
sorry.
yes. Thank you. That concludes our agenda.
Thank you.
And thank you all for such a good discussion earlier.
Tim,
Are we really opposed to